3 strikes. That's all it took. 3 precisely sequenced strikes executed over 5 days, each one building on the last, each one removing a layer of protection that America spent decades and billions of dollars constructing. And when the 3rd strike landed, the most advanced missile defense system ever built by any nation in human history was sitting in the desert sand of the Persian Gulf, completely blind, completely deaf, and completely useless. A billion-dollar collection of metal that could not stop a paper airplane. Iran didn't just damage American air defense. Iran performed surgery on it. And the way they did it tells you something far more terrifying than the fact that they did it at all. Here's what happened in order, because the order is everything. Step 1. Iran hit the AN/FPS 132 Block 5 early warning radar at Al Udeid in Qatar. This is a system worth over $1 billion on its own. Its job is simple and irreplaceable. It sees everything coming from Iranian airspace at a range of 5,000 kilometers. It is the first set of eyes in the entire defensive chain. Every Patriot battery, every THAAD launcher, every naval Aegis system operating in the Gulf depends on this radar to provide the initial detection that starts the interception sequence. Without it, the defenders are not degraded. They are blind. They do not know what is coming, from where, at what speed, or how many. Iran killed the eyes first. Step 2. Iran struck the AN/TPY-2 radar at Al Dhafra base in the UAE. This is a completely different system with a completely different function. The TPY-2 is the dedicated tracking and fire control radar for the THAAD battery. If the early warning radar is the system that tells you something is coming, the TPY-2 is the system that tells the interceptor exactly where to go to kill it. Without the TPY-2, a THAAD launcher can still physically fire, but it is firing without guidance. It is a sniper without a scope, a surgeon without eyes. The interceptor leaves the tube and has no updated trajectory data to follow. It misses. Every time. Iran killed the aim second. Step 3. Iran hit the THAAD battery itself. The launcher, the control systems, the entire integrated platform that cost between $1 and $1.8 billion, operated directly by roughly 95 American military personnel. By the time this strike arrived, it was almost redundant. The battery was already operationally dead. The early warning radar that fed it detection data was destroyed days earlier. The fire control radar that gave its interceptors targeting precision was rubble. Iran destroyed the battery not because it needed to, the system was already inert, but to make the statement complete. To ensure that satellite imagery would show the physical destruction of the hardware so that no official could claim the system was merely damaged or temporarily offline or being repaired. This was not a lucky sequence of hits against randomly selected military targets. This was a campaign designed at the systems level to dismantle a layered missile defense architecture from the outside in, executed in the exact order that maximizes degradation at each step. The people who planned this understood the American defense network not as a collection of individual weapons, but as an integrated system with dependencies, and they attacked the dependencies first. They knew that destroying the early warning radar would blind everything downstream. They knew that killing the fire control radar would paralyze the THAAD, even if it survived physically. And they knew that finishing the battery itself would eliminate any possibility of field repair, restoring capability before the war's next phase arrived. This level of targeting requires something that should deeply unsettle every American military planner reviewing the damage assessments this morning. It requires intimate knowledge of how the systems connect to each other. It requires understanding which radar feeds which battery, which data links carry which targeting information, which node's destruction produces which cascade of failures downstream. Iran either developed that understanding through years of careful intelligence collection, or someone gave it to them. Either answer is devastating. And now consider what is not there anymore. America built its Gulf defense posture on a concept called layered defense. Multiple overlapping systems, each covering a different threat envelope, so that if one layer fails, the next catches what gets through. Early warning radar detects at long range. THAAD engages ballistic missiles in their terminal descent phase. Patriot batteries handle shorter-range threats, and anything THAAD misses. Naval Aegis systems aboard destroyers provide additional coverage from the sea. The theory is elegant. The theory assumes no adversary can degrade all layers simultaneously. The theory just met reality, and reality won. The early warning radar is destroyed. The THAAD fire control radar is destroyed. The THAAD battery is destroyed. What remains are Patriot batteries, whose interceptor magazines are draining at a rate of hundreds per day against Iranian drones costing less than a new car, and naval systems aboard ships that are themselves under threat from anti-ship missiles and drone swarms. The layered defense is no longer layered. It is a single remaining sheet stretched across 11 countries, getting thinner by the hour. And the replacement math is where this transforms from a battlefield problem into a civilizational one. America's total THAAD interceptor inventory. The complete stockpile accumulated across 15 years of production at roughly 40 to 50 rounds per year at a cost of $12.7 million per missile, is approximately 650 rounds. That is not a classified estimate. That number comes from Lockheed Martin's own reporting. 650 interceptors to cover every American ally, every deployed system, every theater of operations on the planet simultaneously. During the 12-day war between Israel and Iran in June of last year, America expended over 150 THAAD interceptors defending a single country. That was 25% of the entire global stockpile consumed in less than 2 weeks. The current conflict is on day 5, covers 11 countries, and has already produced more total intercepts than the June war generated across its entire duration. And the production pipeline that feeds new interceptors into the system delivered 12 new THAAD rounds in all of fiscal year 2026. 12. At that rate, replacing the 150 rounds consumed in June alone would take over 12 years. Now, a complete THAAD battery, not just the missiles but the radar, the launchers, the fire control architecture, the integration with the broader defense network, has been physically destroyed. The replacement timeline for that system is not measured in months. It is measured in years of manufacturing, testing, integration, and deployment. The battery that Iran destroyed this week will not be operational again before this war ends, regardless of how long the war lasts. And here is the dimension that makes this more than a Middle Eastern problem. The dimension that has strategists in Beijing and Taipei and Tokyo losing sleep this Tuesday night. Every single THAAD interceptor fired over Qatar is an interceptor that does not exist in a magazine aboard a destroyer in the South China Sea. Every PAC-3 consumed defending Al Udeid is a PAC-3 that cannot be forward deployed to the Western Pacific. America's deterrence posture against China, the credibility of its promise to defend Taiwan, to protect Japan, to maintain freedom of navigation in contested waters, depends on the same finite stockpile of advanced interceptors that Iran is systematically draining in the Persian Gulf. China is watching this with the focus of a nation conducting the most consequential intelligence collection operation of the 21st century without deploying a single spy. Every salvo Iran fires, every interception America makes, every missile consumed, every battery degraded, all of it is data flowing into Chinese military planning models that calculate one thing: how many interceptors would America have available if a Taiwan contingency began tomorrow? And the answer, as of day 5, is significantly fewer than it had last week. And the answer next week will be fewer still. And the week after that, fewer again. A major American defense think tank published an assessment just weeks before this war began, warning that America's high-end interceptor inventory, the SM-3s, the SM-6s, the PAC-3 MSEs, the THAAD rounds, would likely be exhausted within days of sustained combat against a peer adversary. Their modeling showed that 2 to 3 major salvos from China's missile forces could deplete entire categories of American interceptors. They projected systemic failure of the defensive architecture within 30 to 60 days against a full-scale Pacific engagement. That assessment was written for a hypothetical future scenario. It is now being validated in real time against an adversary with a fraction of China's missile inventory. And if Iran, a nation whose defense budget is roughly 3% of America's, can destroy a THAAD battery, blind the early warning network, and drain interceptor magazines to crisis levels in 5 days, what does that tell Beijing about how long America's defenses would last against the full weight of the Playa rocket force? Iran understood something about the economics of modern air defense that American procurement culture has been unable or unwilling to confront. The cost-exchange ratio is the entire war. Iran fires a drone that costs $35,000. The defender fires an interceptor that costs $4 million. Iran fires a ballistic missile that costs somewhere between $500,000 and $2 million. The defender fires a THAAD round that costs $12.7 million. And Iran deliberately mixes drones and ballistic missiles in the same salvos, so that radar operators cannot distinguish cheap from lethal until classification is complete. And classification takes time that may not exist when the incoming objects are traveling at Mach 5. So the standing order across every battery in the Gulf is the same. Engage everything. Fire at every track. Because the cost of guessing wrong, of letting a real ballistic missile through because you assumed it was a cheap drone, is measured in hundreds of dead. So you fire the $4 million interceptor at the $35,000 drone. Every time. And Iran launches another one. And another. 114 times per day across the theater. Each one a transaction in which Iran spends $1 and forces its